to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You have a different perspective on this place, I think, than the other guys who are new on this staff. When the opportunity arose to return to Oklahoma, to return to be at OU and coach at a blue blood college football, one of the elites, 7 championships, 7 Heisman trophies, all that stuff. How fast was your decision, and what all went into it?
Well, it was kind of an interesting deal. My wife's response was a little different than mine. I never thought this was a possibility. When I left here 9-10 years ago, had kind of gone out and started to do my own thing and spent the last 9 years in Alabama, and so I always figured at some point Coach Venables would be a head coach. But in this profession, as I heard Coach Gundy say earlier, nothing's guaranteed, and so when this came about, everybody assumes, that it's something that could happen. But at the same time, when you're putting together a staff, and I've been on quite a few of them since I left, it's all about fit and it's all about timing. And that doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a bad coach. There's a lot of things that go into it, and being and seeing this. One thing I've got to do is observe for a long time and been around some really good head coaches and some really smart people. And the profession sometimes isn't fair, and what's best for us is not necessarily what's best for this program. And I knew Coach Venables was going to do what was best for Oklahoma, and if that included me, that's great. But the first time we talked, he had not taken the job, and we just kind of visited about the what if. And at the end of the day, I told him, hey, regardless, man, I'm always going to be a fan. I'm always going to love you. I appreciate what you did for me in my life. I wouldn't be where I'm at without you, and fortunately for me, it worked out. This place is different. All these guys, probably with the exception of Coach Gundy, who I once used to watch play in this stadium. This is my home. I was raised here. I was raised a Sooner fan. All the names, a lot of you guys, I grew up reading the newspaper when they used to do that every Sunday morning, and so this place has special meaning to me. And so we joke, when I took the job, I didn't even really know what I was going to do or how much I was actually going to get paid. And I'll never forget, my wife was like, well, you need to ask for this. And I said, babe, I don't think he's really looking to negotiate. But no, she told me at the end of the day, she goes, I thought she'd be, yeah, we got to go. She goes, you know what? She goes, Oklahoma's not home. Oklahoma's where we're at. And she goes, you've done your own thing, and if you need to make it right for you, and it needs to be a good fit for you. And I'm not here because it's Oklahoma. I promise you. I spent some time here, and I can sit here and tell stories about how awesome this place has been to me, and Coach Stoops, and all Bo Plenty, Brent Venables. You can go on, Willie Martinez, all the great Mike Stoops. All these, Bobby Jackarot. I can't quit even saying the names, but how much they've impacted my life. But I came back because the one thing that Brent has done for me in my life is he has set that bar very high. The standard is so high, and he does not deviate from that standard. And in my personal life, I know some of you guys know, you got to where I started jogging with him, right? And I find myself now seeing in my life as I've grown, why he was the way he was, and he's always kind of had this motto of we do what we do because we can and others won't. And I've kind of taken that with me everywhere I've been, and I'm here because of him, and I love OU, I do, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make this place what I think it can be. But at the end of the day, I came here because I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to be better for it.
You walk in here and you look around and you've got your own office now, and all that kind of stuff. How
Yeah.
did that blow you away from what it looked like when you left?
To be honest with you, it'll hit me one day. I get up about 5:30 and, probably try to leave here around 7:30, 8 o'clock on a good night. And I'm just pushing so hard right now because, to me, every day is an interview. I want to feel like that I deserve this. God's opened this door for me, and I don't want it to close. I don't want it to close for as long as possible. And so, I joke with my dad about it, and everybody, they're so proud, your son, whoever it is, to have somebody in this position. And I told my wife, I said, one of these days, we're going to slow down enough and I'm going to realize I'm living my dream. I said, but right now, I said, every day it just feels like, whoa, it's a nightmare. You're just trying to get from A to B to C. And people ask me, well, how's it going? I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you. I get up at 5:30. I'm just trying to make it to 8 a.m. Then I'm trying to make it to 10. Then I'm trying to make it to noon. I'm trying to make it to 2. And I said, I'm living in 2-hour increments. And that's just the way I'm operating right now, just trying to get as much as I can done. But it's been fun.
Thanks. Good to meet you.
Go to the table on the right, Kerry Murdoch.
Yep.
Hey, Brent, how you doing?
Good.
You talk about how special this is for you with the path that you took. What's it like sharing it though with other guys that shared those sweat drenched days on the practice field, like Joe, John, and Jeff, and and, you know, guys that played here like DeMarco. I mean, it's pretty unique in that there's so many former
Yeah.
guys in the program.
It's funny. I joke with them all the time, you know, when they get up there and they thank Coach Venables, who had coached them before. You know, obviously DeMarco came after I left, but I'm like, hey, man, I was your first coach. I mean, I was the scout team coordinator, you know. And Joe John and we laugh. Hey, Coach Levy was actually like Pete Rose when he was here, right? So he hurt his back, and so he was a scout team guard. And so I would actually hold the cards up, and then he would come up and he would call out the blocking for everybody. Couldn't play, obviously, because of the back, but he would be out there every day. He loved the game. He, you know, grew up in a coaching family. And then me and Joe John just talk about all the time. I mean, he's like, man, we used to get annihilated. Just, you know, the way that we practiced with, you know, Coach Stoops and Coach Venables, and just the tempo and just the D-line. I mean, everybody goes back to those 2003, 4, 5. Those D-lines were just so violent and so brutal. And it was my job to get those other guys to believe that they could block those guys. And like I said, I was very fortunate to be around some really good guys. And, hey, man, it's worked out for them. You know, I know they feel like they've won the lottery being here. So.
Over here, Brandon Drum.
Nice to meet you, Coach.
Yeah.
You were with Coach Venables for as I was talking about the GA,
Yep.
as student assistant. Can you talk about his growth from that point when you first got to be his right-hand man as a student assistant to now being a safeties coach and being in those meeting rooms? And I guess you have a voice and his overall growth as a coach and your growth and how that's kind of come together.
Well, I'll say this, and I've learned this from this situation more than anything, that God has a time and a place for everything. You know, I was here with him for 7 years. There were a lot of opportunities that probably people don't know about that he was approached by or approached about, and just didn't feel like they were a good fit. Was very loyal to Coach Stoops throughout the whole thing, and so it was going to have to be something really special to pull him away. And so for me as a young coach, you know, I wanted those opportunities, I thought. But being here now, being in this position, being around all the fanfare and attention, you know, Coach Stoops, you know, I'll say this, probably has great impact on my life and Coach Venables' life on how to be a great father, a great husband, how to learn how to not only be a great coach, but there's more to your life than just football. And you know, and he was very, very good about sharing that part of his life. But I'll tell you this, as ready as I thought Coach Venables was to be the head coach back then and when he was young, those years that he spent with Dabo, I don't know Dabo, Coach Sweeney personally, but obviously he's a good man because he has made an unbelievable impact in Coach Venables' life. And, you know, I think sometimes people get frustrated when people leave them for one reason or another, but I know this. I think one thing that Coach Sweeney can be proud of is that he's not only going to impact the 120 people that were, you know, on that team that he had in Clemson, but now he's going to have an opportunity to impact so many more lives as a head coach. And I'm talking coaches and I'm talking the players. And I think that that's spiritually how Coach Sweeney attacked, you know, that program. And so he's, like I said, man, he's such a different person in that regard. Not that it wasn't there before, but I think that, you know, as he's gotten older and wiser, so to speak, he's really made a point to make that a big part of his life and share that with people. And I think that it's very genuine. A lot of people use it as a lucky rabbit's foot. He don't. I mean, trust me, I wish I would. There's some days back in the day when some of you guys know, I wish I could, hey, man, listen, you want to pray about this? But anyways, no, he's in a really good spot in his life and all avenues. He's very well-rounded as a person.
It's got Ryan Aver in the middle.
Yeah, good to meet you. Building off of what Brandon asked and something that you brought up to answering John's question, you talked about Brent sort of setting the bar at a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
What were the things that you noticed in him early in your relationship here that started, you know, putting that into your mind that, you know, Brent Venables is a little bit different kind of guy?
Well, you know, you can say intense, but I see it as passionate. I mean, he's very demanding. And I think the one thing that all great leaders possess is the unbelievable belief in what they're doing. And I'm telling you, when I say that when we talk as a staff, There is no gray area in what he wants to accomplish, what he wants to achieve. There's no gray area in the expectations that he has for me, or, you know, everybody talks about all the people that we've hired, right, and all the roles that they have, and are they really doing anything? He is very detailed and very specific on what they're supposed to be doing, and he is not budging, and it requires a lot more of his time. But, you know, we talked earlier, and we're talking about Saturday and things we got to do, and he's like, hey, guys, I'm going to be here as long as it takes. And he's going to be here until it's done and it's done right, and he's not going to deviate from that. And a lot of people are going to, you know, be uncomfortable because of that, but I promise them, those guys that stay, those guys that buy in, they're going to grow exponentially from that, and that's why I'm here, you know. And, you know, to put it in a nutshell, man, he's just standard barrier, very intense about it, and believes strongly in himself.
How different did that look 20 years ago when he's in a little bit different role? And you know, I know now he obviously is in charge and can dictate those things. But
No, I think it's a good question. I don't think it's him changing as much as it is me. You know, I called the defense for the last 3 years, and I'll be honest with you. I grew a lot. You know, when you're in charge, you know, I think the hardest thing to do is to keep everybody in alignment, you know, and you're no longer just worried about your position group. You have to worry about the lives of the coaches that are underneath you. And I was only in charge of 4 or 5 guys. He's got to be in charge of 30 or 40 now, and you know, all great organizations have just true alignment. I mean, it's just everybody is marching in the same direction, saying the same thing, expecting the same thing. And I think for me, when I was young and I was just, oh my God, you're just trying not to screw up, right? I think now I see it in a lot different light, having been in those shoes a little bit and not anywhere near him. And I appreciate it. I appreciate what he's trying to do. And like I said, at the end of the day, just getting everybody to pull on the rope at the same time. You know, you can pull a truck, right? But if you got different guys pulling at different times, man, you ain't moving that thing. And I think if I've changed more than he has. I think I've got a greater appreciation for what he is and who he is since I left him. And now I look back on it and I'm like, all right, yeah, X's and O's are great, right? They are. But what separates him from other people, because I've been around a lot of smart coaches, is not the X's and O's. I mean, he's really smart, but what he expects of other people and how high he holds them to that standard is what separates him.
appreciate it, Brandon.
Yep.
Eric Bailey, Tulsa World.
Coach, welcome to you.
Thank you, sir.
Back, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, just when you talk about coaching, you talk about the foundation you kind of built when you were at UNI, when you were at Broken Arrow High School, and also UCO. How much did those stops help make you the coach you are today?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and again, this goes back to when I left here, the hardest thing that I had to deal with was the adjustment of that there's more than one way to do it. You know, when you're a young coach and you're busting your butt for people that are very, very bought into what they're doing and they're very passionate about what they're doing, the biggest issue is you don't see it being done any other way. And so with each stop, I grew as a person, understanding that, hey, yeah, that way is the right way, but there's other right ways. And so I think what you end up doing is maturing to where you actually don't shut people out or their ideas out, and you listen and you're more accepting of all the other ideas and all the entities that go into building a successful program. I think that comes with wisdom, you know what I mean? And I think whoever that is, right? When you've been in multiple places and multiple organizations and you've seen it done different ways, I think that's the greatest experience that you can have. And so every place that I went, I learned something. And I was more accepting of change, and I was more accepting of doing it a different way. And so when you go into that next setting, right, and they want to do it this way, rather than you kind of being, I don't know, well, you jump on board because you're like, hey, man, they've been successful and this works. And so when I came back, I was like, hey, how are we going to do this? So,
Thank you.
yeah.
And Bob Frisbill, Sooner Scoop.
Yep.
Brandon, hate to bore you with a football question.
No, that's good.
You know, most new coaches, you can lean on the experienced veterans that are coming back. You don't have it. No Turner Young, no Pat Fields. Does that make it any more challenging to know there's not a lot of tape on any of the guys that are in the league?
Well, I don't think there's as much experience, but I think there is viable experience. You know, as much as any, yeah, there's game experience, but there's also college experience. You know, I think the hardest thing for young players to do is get used to the grind that college football presents. Getting up at 5:30, going to workouts, right? Going to treatment, making sure they're where they're supposed to be, right? Life's on a curve, right? It's on a subtle curve and you can't even see it. And so you're constantly having to move in the same direction at such a subtle pace that you don't even know you're getting better. And that's what gets frustrating, right? So you're trying to do the same thing over and over again for 365 days out of the year, and you don't even really know you're getting better. And so those guys that have been going to school here for 3 and 4 years, right? They've been going to class, they've been in the grind, they've been doing all the things in practice they've been asked to do. Those guys will assimilate much quicker than a guy that's coming off the street. And so, you've got guys like Key Lawrence, okay? You've got guys like Justin Broyles, even Billy Bowman. I mean, the guy played in the Cotton Bowl, right? I mean, he's played in some big games. He's played some big snaps. And so the assimilation for those guys is going to be so much quicker than just somebody walking in off the street. Now, did we lose some guys? Absolutely. We lost some experience. But I think there's enough there that we're going to be just fine.
Coach, appreciate you.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. Yep. God bless. Guys, have a good day.